What happened behind closed doors in the final months of Hollywood legend John Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa's lives? The mysterious deaths of the beloved couple had baffled investigators and fans alike. But recently, Leslie Hackman, John's daughter, was called to testify in court, revealing startling truths that could change everything we thought we knew about this case. Could this really be a tragic coincidence, or is there something much darker at play? The case begins, a family in crisis. The world has long admired John Hackman for his towering presence on screen, a man known for his sharp wit and commanding performances. His sudden and mysterious death, alongside the death of his wife, Betsy Arakawa, raised a storm of questions. While public figures like Hackman often live under the constant glare of media attention, this was not the case in his final years. John and Betsy lived a secluded life far from the Hollywood spotlight, leading to suspicions and rumors regarding their deaths. As the case began to unfold, one question lingered in the air. What was the truth behind these tragic events? The investigation took an unexpected turn when Leslie Hackman, the couple's only daughter, was summoned to the courtroom to answer probing questions. For weeks, the world had only heard silence or contradictory statements from the family. But now, Leslie's testimony would reveal shocking details that cast a dark shadow over everything we thought we knew about the legendary actor's final days. Leslie's testimony, shattering the public image. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as Leslie Hackman took the stand. Her words would either clear the air or add fuel to the fire. As the daughter of one of Hollywood's greatest stars, she had always portrayed a close and loving relationship with her father. In interviews, she had claimed that her father, John Hackman, remained sharp and lucid even in his later years. She spoke of weekly phone calls where he discussed books, films, and life in general. But Leslie's portrayal of a man still engaged with life began to unravel when investigators uncovered an uncomfortable truth. Leslie had not seen her father for many months before his death. Phone records, testimonies from those close to Hackman, and documents gathered in the investigation all pointed to one undeniable fact: Leslie had not been involved in her father's life during his final months. The calls she mentioned, the supposed regular conversations, appeared to have never taken place. This revelation was both shocking and puzzling. Was Leslie lying to protect her father's image, or had she truly been unaware of his declining health? The isolation of John Hackman, a man who disappeared from the world. The investigation took another bizarre turn as it was revealed that John Hackman had been living in near total isolation during his final months. Neighbors reported rarely seeing him leave the house. Medical records showed no sign of recent treatment, no visits from doctors or caregivers. The man who had once been a dominant force in Hollywood had seemingly withdrawn from the world, and no one, least of all his daughter, had noticed. This stark contrast to Leslie's portrayal of her father as healthy and mentally sharp raised suspicions. If Leslie had been in regular contact with John, how could she not have noticed these signs? Could it be that she simply didn't want to acknowledge the reality of her father's condition? Or had John Hackman and his wife, Betsy, intentionally concealed his health decline to shield their daughter from the harsh truth? Several possibilities were considered. Leslie may not have realized the extent of her father's isolation, especially if she only visited him occasionally. Alternatively, she could have been so emotionally attached to the idea of her father remaining the strong and capable man he once was that she chose to ignore the signs. There were also theories that John and Betsy may have deliberately kept Leslie in the dark, wanting to protect her from the emotional burden of seeing her father in a weakened state. The gas leak theory, a shocking twist. When John Hackman passed away, Leslie immediately suggested to the press that his death was the result of a gas leak in the house. This hypothesis, though plausible, was quickly dismissed by police investigators. If a gas leak had caused his death, it would have been a verifiable explanation for his sudden passing. But the police found no evidence to support Leslie's claim. At first glance, this seemed like a natural theory for a daughter to propose in the face of her father's unexpected death. However, as the investigation continued, the truth began to emerge. Leslie's suggestion appeared to be more of an attempt to provide a simple, understandable explanation for a death that didn't add up. Was it a case of denial, or was Leslie hiding something more sinister? The medical records, a man in decline. As the investigation deepened, police uncovered startling medical evidence that painted a grim picture of John Hackman's final years. According to medical records, John had been suffering from advanced Alzheimer's disease for at least 2 years before his death. In addition to the memory loss and cognitive decline associated with Alzheimer's, Hackman had experienced multiple heart attacks. This was a far cry from the healthy, sharp-minded man Leslie had portrayed to the press. But there was more. Former housekeepers revealed that John sometimes didn't even recognize his wife, Betsy. This was an alarming sign of the severity of his condition, yet Leslie had insisted that her father was still the man he once was. According to the medical evidence, however, the man she had described was a far cry from the truth. Why did Leslie maintain her narrative? Could she have truly been unaware of her father's health? Or was she consciously hiding the reality of his deteriorating condition from the public? This question would only become more complicated as the investigation unfolded. Betsy's mysterious death, a rare illness with suspicious circumstances. While all eyes were focused on John Hackman's death, the passing of his wife, Betsy Arakawa, raised even more questions. Betsy, who had no known history of cardiovascular disease or any other major health issues, died suddenly from a rare rodent-borne illness. This diagnosis stunned the medical community, as such diseases were incredibly rare in the United States. The fact that Betsy had contracted such an illness was puzzling enough, but what made it even more mysterious was the complete isolation in which she lived. According to investigators, Betsy had not seen a doctor in months, and there were no records of her receiving medical treatment. Her housekeeper had quit, and no friends or relatives visited her. How could a woman living in such isolation contract such a rare disease? As the investigation into Betsy's death continued, it became clear that something was deeply wrong within the Hackman household. The question arose, was this a tragic accident, or was Betsy's death part of a larger, more sinister plot? The final days of John Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, a house of secrets. The details surrounding the final days of John Hackman and Betsy Arakawa are chilling. After Betsy's death, John Hackman was found alone in his home for 7 days, living with the body of his deceased wife. No medical care had been provided, and there were no signs of anyone reaching out to help him. Surveillance footage showed no one entering or leaving the villa for weeks before John's body was discovered. This eerie isolation raises even more disturbing questions. Did John Hackman know that his wife had passed away? Did he attempt to seek help but was unable to? What happened in the final days of their lives, and why did no one step forward to assist them? Leslie Hackman's role, a daughter in the spotlight. Leslie Hackman's role in all of this remains one of the biggest mysteries. Was she simply unaware of her father's condition, as she claimed? Or did she know more than she let on? Leslie's actions in the aftermath of her father's death, requesting control of his estate and making sudden changes to his will, have sparked further suspicion. Her behavior at a public dinner, where she appeared completely composed and cheerful despite the recent deaths of both her father and stepmother, has only added fuel to the fire. Was Leslie hiding her true feelings, or was she unaffected by the loss of her parents? This incongruity between her public demeanor and the tragic circumstances surrounding her family has left many wondering what secrets she is keeping. Theories and speculations. Was this all a conspiracy? As the investigation continues, several theories have emerged. Some believe that Leslie Hackman may have been involved in the deaths of her parents, either directly or indirectly. Others speculate that powerful forces in Hollywood may have been behind the couple's mysterious deaths, as they had both tried to distance themselves from the industry in their final years. Was John Hackman the victim of a larger conspiracy, one that involved powerful figures trying to silence him? Did Betsy Arakawa's rare illness point to something more sinister, something that goes beyond a tragic coincidence? Theories abound, but the truth remains elusive. Conclusion: a family tragedy or a Hollywood conspiracy? The mysterious deaths of John Hackman and Betsy Arakawa remain an open case, one filled with contradictions, unanswered questions, and theories that continue to swirl in the media. Was Leslie Hackman truly unaware of her father's condition, or was she hiding something more nefarious? The investigation into these deaths has only just begun, and with new revelations constantly emerging, it seems that the truth may be far more complex than anyone initially imagined. For those of us watching from the outside, we may never fully understand the pain and confusion that Leslie Hackman is experiencing. However, the public's fascination with this case goes beyond simple curiosity. It's about the secrets we all fear might be hidden in the shadows, both in Hollywood and in our own lives. Only time will tell if the truth will ever come to light.